Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to On the Road with Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald, and we are in Hannibal. Now, we took off this morning from Quincy, took the 30-minute trip down to Hannibal with the intention of going to the Hannibal History Museum. Unfortunately, for medical reasons, they were closed today, and we got thrown a curveball. We have ended up at the Mark Twain Museum, which is one of the hallmarks of Hannibal's tourism scene. And they were so nice to us here. They said, oh, you got a bus with 35 people on it? Bring them in, we'll take care of them. So that's our first stop, sweet people. Melissa Cummins here at the Mark Twain Boyhood Home and Museum. It's right on, I think it's Main Street, isn't it?
It is, Main Street, Hannibal, Missouri.
And it's been here a long time. You've been
has.
welcoming visitors here, and thank God you welcomed us here today,
well,
because
we're glad
we were stuck with nowhere to go. But here we are, we found a great little home.
Yes.
Tell us about the museum.
Well, the Mark Twain Boyhood Home and Museum actually has two interactive museums. We are standing in the museum gallery. There's 3 floors here, and this museum gallery houses a lot of the artifacts of Samuel Clemens. We have original Norman Rockwell illustrations for the Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. And then we also have another interactive museum that's 2 blocks down that's connected to our historic homes, which includes Mark Twain's Boyhood Home, Huckleberry Finn House. We have the Becky Thatcher House, which is the home of Laura Hawkins, if you've ever heard the story.
Is there work going on there now, or have they finished that?
We have completed the Becky Thatcher House. It has new exhibits within, and it's all geared to childhood in the 1800s. It's one of the only museums dedicated to childhood. So you can kind of see how Tom and Becky would have lived, a.k.a. Mark Twain, when he was a young man.
Right. Okay. Now let's move on from here if we can. There's all sorts of things going on here. I hear recordings going on, and a lot of this has to do with Mark Twain as a riverman as well.
That is right. Pilot. You know, Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, grew up in Hannibal, Missouri, and Hannibal sits right on the Mississippi River. So life at that time was all about river life. Everything came and went up and down the river.
Right.
And so Mark Twain was amazed with all the riverboats, and one of the things he wanted to do was become a riverboat pilot. So we have our mezzanine here, which is dedicated to that experience of Mark Twain. Has he become the riverboat pilot and some of the boats that he was piloting on? We have an original captain's wheel and whistle in what we have our captain's house, and it actually views the Mississippi River.
Isn't that cool?
So you actually get a view of the Mississippi River while you're here.
It really is a river wheel, isn't it?
It is. And then we have, you can see right there on the river, the Mark Twain riverboat that we have in Hannibal, Missouri, that does tours as well here in Hannibal.
Yeah, what a perfect location. And then up here on the mezzanine is perfect because you get a chance to, you can look over the main floor. And then you can also find your way up to and that's the Norman Rockwell floor above.
Correct.
Huh?
If you go up one more floor, you're going to find the original Norman Rockwell illustrations. What's really interesting, too, is Norman Rockwell visited Hannibal, Missouri when he was commissioned to illustrate the edition of Tom Sawyer. He wanted to make sure that he made all the illustrations as accurate to what Hannibal looked like. So he came from East, he came here to the Midwest, and he actually went into the cave. When we get up there, I'll show you the illustration that he sketched while he was inside the Mark Twain cave. He had a tour guide take him in the cave. The cave is very cavernous. There's many tunnels and you could get lost. So a local farmer took him in, took him to a location that we call 5 Points. There's actually 5 connections to that one central location, left him there. The farmers had to get away, so he said, I'll come back and get you in an hour. Norman Rockwell thought it'd take him an hour. It probably took him about 15 minutes because he was so scared. It's very dark in that cave. But there's the actual illustration that he sketched, and then he went around town and he wanted to make sure that he had the clothing that was represented Hannibal, Missouri at the time. He saw a man walking on down on Main Street, and he's like, can I buy that off of you? Well, first the guy thought he was nuts. Here's this crazy artist from up east that wants my clothes. But then he's like, well, okay, you're going to pay me for my clothes. Well, then he started talking to other townspeople. Well, he was staying at the Mark Twain Hotel, which was actually down another block. He woke up one morning, there was a line outside. There were people from town that had clothing that wanted to know if this crazy artist would like to buy clothing from them as well. But he did. He purchased the clothing off of the people here in Hannibal, and then he went up east and had models, and he put them in the clothes, and that's how he created the illustrations.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
well,
it's kind of a funny story. So, but yeah, I hope you all enjoy your trip here and get a little bit of chance to see Hannibal as well.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So welcome everyone. My name's Laura Chamberlain. I'm born and raised in the area. I started working here about a year and a half ago. Brittany here, she has been here since 2012. So, and then Brandy's our housekeeper. She's been here for almost 3 years. So, welcome. We're in the lobby. Abraham Lincoln actually hung out here. He played checkers. And then in between his court cases across the street, the courthouse actually is celebrating its 175th anniversary this year. So obviously it's not as old as Lincoln. So in right here it shows, we got some old pictures of when it was named the Mansion House, which was about 100 years it was under the name, and then switched to the Parkway House. Here we have, I believe the pictures are set in the 50s. Don't quote me on it, but that's what I believe. And then here is a picture actually of William Watson himself. His wife, her name was Diadema, and William was the first settler in Pittsfield. And so strange sideburns he had. I believe that was the time. So, and then he was the first settler, like I said, and came from, I believe, Pittsfield, Massachusetts, which how we got the name Pittsfield. So, anybody have any questions? I figured. So the ceiling is original. I believe it had a similar feel as to this, and then they tore it off, saw what they had, and then Jane Ann, she was the head of the design, thank you, and they had this sandblasted because they were going to paint it white, and they liked the way it turned out, and so that's one of the things that catches people's eyes when they come into the hotel. So the coffee shop is named Free Press Coffee House for the printing press back in the day, and it was called Free Press. I know one of the guys' names is John Nicolay, and then And then there's another man. I know Jean Ann's going to kick me that I don't know his name, but they actually ended up being secretaries of Lincoln in his presidency. So we have 14 rooms. If you guys, we have just a couple available. We are pretty full this week, so if you guys, I can take you on a brief tour. So if you want to follow me. And then this, I really like this because it shows all of the major people that have come through Illinois. These seats actually came from the courthouse across the street when they redid the seating, but I actually think that they don't look any more better than the ones that they do now have. So we have, like I was telling people earlier, we have our weekly meetings in here. So if you feel some brain flow going, that's awesome.
We're actually sending the individual eaches out of these cases to a distributor or a broker or someone who wants to offer it as a sample to their customer. So instead of sending a whole case of pepper for a sample, we're sending the one out, and we partner with our suppliers on that as a cost-saving method for them. So that's what we do in this aisle, and then you'll see as we walk down to this area down here is our single case fulfillment center. So this is where we're shipping out these samples and shipping out single cases as customers maybe need them or our distributors need them. When you get onto this dock, this is typical of what our receiving process looks like. So the product comes in on the trailer, we pull it off the trailer. We're going to identify the product by scanning the barcode on the case. So we scan the barcode on the case and it tells us what the item is, our expected quantity that we should have on that order, and then it allows us to say how many is typically on a pallet, so our system knows that this is in a 20 tie and there's 10 layers or whatever it is. So what Lisa is on right here is what we call a narrow aisle, and what she does is she's going to see that inbound product, she's going to scan the barcode on it, and it's going to tell her where to put it away in the system. So once she scans it, it says you're going to take it to this location. She's going to take it to that location, and then she's going to assign that license plate to that location. So then that inventory is in our system and it's tied to that location. and away she goes. We work 7 days a week, and we have a variety of different schedules within those shifts that you can work. Our typical ones are Sunday through Wednesday or Wednesday through Saturday, but like I said, there's a variety of shifts within that. You look down the tunnel, you can see into Warehouse 3, so that was the third expansion. And then down, when you go past it, that's Warehouse 4. And then Warehouse 5's on the backside here, 6 is on the backside there, and 7's all the way on the backside over there. So there is a huge amount of expansion that's happened just in this location alone, and it's pretty amazing. So we actually have equipment that runs in the aisles in between, doing the same function as our narrow aisles. But then you'll also see what looks like a ceiling going down. So that's actually a mezzanine. So they're picking up above too. So they're picking not only on this first level, but we have 12 stock pickers up on the second level. A stock picker looks exactly like that machine right there. And there's 12 of those upstairs that are picking as well.
So this was the Dick Brothers Brewery, and it started in 1857. There was 3 brothers, Jacob, Matthew, and John Dick, from Bavaria. And they came through New Orleans and then in Belleville, Illinois, where they first landed. After a few years, they decided to start a brewery, and they started going north to Iowa. And so we're on the way to Iowa, but they found a spring on the way, and water for the spring is for beer is very, very important. And so the water had exactly the right, minerals and clarity and taste. So they stayed here instead of going on to Iowa. And so they first built buildings across the street. That was the original brewery, and now it's the bottle house. So it's 1857, the malt house that we'll go in is original building in 1857. They also built the stock house parts of the building next to us. So I call this like 4 complexes. We have the bottle house across the street, which is 5 buildings, the brew house where they made the beer from 1897 on, and this is the brew house, is a gravitational style brewery. So you look up on Wikipedia, gravitational style brewery, and you'll see it's 5 floors, and the beer would drop, they'd pump it all to the top, and then all the ingredients, and they'd bring it down each process. So these rooms upstairs were where they had the grains for each of the processes, or water, or whatever had to happen. So every floor has a big opening, although they're kind of independent buildings, but they're built as one. So each floor has an opening to the other side. And then a lot of the floors have trap doors upstairs, and they still work. You know, my son is 18, and he and his friends, I say, please don't open them. You open them, and it's a drop of 20 feet. So you can imagine a trap door right there. You open it up, and this is how far you would fall. So, yeah. So in this room, this was part of the storage house. We'll go this side. And in this side, the original elevator is over here in this corner. You can't see it now, but I have a picture where it was all open. So you'd see all the mechanisms, the motor, all the belts, everything was open to this room. And I saw another picture where there was a bar right here. So during the week, they would come here, maybe it was a tasting bar, and then on Fridays and Saturdays, if you had worked long enough, you'd get these gold coins, and I think they were gold, but they were coins that you would give you, and then you could buy your beer downstairs for the employees and their friends. So, and there was a back door. So that would be kind of like a downstairs brewery. And if you want to start making your way down that way, so you'll just notice there's two rooms just the same. Yeah, there's another one, and then it has like a kind of a tunnel effect all around it for a long way, because I believe that this used to be, it was a ravine, and so they built these tunnels and then covered them with dirt. So in this piece, this is all one piece, well, two pieces of like giant stone. I don't know how they got that down here. And you'll see all these drainage. You have all these things that go even deeper. So I think some of it dumps into the spring. These are for ventilation, and then you would also have maybe like a light in here, like candle or something. And then so the air would go up this way because you need ventilation down here. And then you're under the street, and then if you just stop at you'll go around the corner since there's so many of you, and then I'll explain. I can't get the lights on for some of the tunnels. So you're walking under York Street right now, and we're going toward the Bottle House, which was that big building across the street with that green door that I ran under. So in case people can't hear, you're walking under York Street right now, where we came from the Stock House, and you're walking south, and that means duck. And you'll see this ridge here. So this concrete floor was built later. And so as you get condensation and water and a lot of leaking, that goes this way toward the spring. So it all kind of goes downhill. We're at the front, the York Street level up here. And but the street goes way up high. So when we go back here, we'll be underground again. But we'll be flat. But the street, the ground goes up outside. So that they become underground. 2 more. Okay. Okay, this room was called the governor's cellar. Oh, are we still having? No. Oh, that's it. The governor's cellar, and this is where the beer was held. This was opened up, so there was only 2 entrances, and this is where the beer was taxed. So there was a key from a guy from Springfield. The inspector would come, and at first he didn't come often enough, and the beer would have to sit in here, and they had ice in here, and it would wait, and then it actually came over in pipes from the brew house. So this wasn't used as the governor's cellar till they started bottling. So you have the 2 refrigerator doors. He would come in. When he first got here, it took him so long. They said, "Can't we have our own inspector who stays in Quincy on the properties because we make so much beer so quickly, we can't wait for him to come to tax our beer." So on the other side of that door, it'll get a picture maybe, it says governor's cellar. Then this was broken through. This room is very well insulated. There is this was the cork. It's dark brown now, but under all these walls is cork. And then you have these sort of open hold brick that also holds air. Then you have the cork, and then you have the brick. And so this room stayed very cold. There are 2 windows that are at the alley level right there. We're opening those up probably next month and putting a glass block. But the dirt had covered it over so long, we're digging. There's nice window wells behind there. So those will be not so awful, and then we'll redo this room so it'll look cool. Right now we are on the first floor of the malt house. The malt house has 2 that I call that the old brew house, but this is the malt house. It goes back another like there's a room here, a room there, and another giant room back that way. And this was broken through, but it was 2 stories. There is the second story up here. You'll see the floors are very shallow because this was a malt house. You would take any kind of cereal grain, but they used malt. And they would put the malt on the floor 3 to 5 inches thick. Let me turn this off. And 3 to 5 inches thick, and the grain. And they had boiled it or they soaked it first, then they'd put it on the ground, and they would turn it over for several days so it would start germinating. And so you get that little sprout, and as soon the brewmaster would say when it was ready to go. And then there was 2 kilns way to the back that not in here, but they're gone now. And so then the malt would stop its germinating once you heat it up. And then if you heat it, you could toast it, and it would be like dark. You'd have dark beers or light, golden, different levels. But the brewmaster determined all of those things. This is a 5-story building, so this is the first. That's the second. You see, they're only 8 feet. 3rd, 4th, and 5th above us.
Dick Brothers Brewery in Quincy was our last stop on a memorable day. We want to thank Liz Solero for helping us out, and also our hosts at Dot Foods and Hagel 1891, William Watson Hotel, and the Mark Twain Museum for hosting us on the road with Illinois Stories. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send 1995 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.